I also know the shadowing technique. But Monica also speaks about thinking aloud. I don't know what it is, so I ask our teacher what is thinking aloud. Our teacher says it is a very effective technique. You have to have a strong motivation to learn English. If you want to benefit from this technique, it is also good to know that for some people this technique is a little crazy, but when you start to think aloud, your English can be better very fast. I say I have a strong motivation. I don't care if the technique is crazy. If it helps, I want to learn it. Can you teach us this technique? Okay, it is actually very simple. You think in your native language all day, every day. It is normal. Now you can start to think in English, and when you start to think in English, then you can think aloud. You simply say aloud what you think. It is all I say. It is very simple. Why is it very effective? Our teacher says maybe you can ask Monica. She uses this technique. Maybe she can tell you more about this technique. Then our teacher asks Monica if it is okay for her to speak about her experience with thinking aloud. It is no problem for Monica. She says, when I started with this technique, it wasn't easy. I started with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use these words well. I'd say my with these words. I can do this. This is great. The sentences were really simple, but at the beginning, there was one problem. My thinking in Italian was long and complicated. I wasn't able to say in English exactly what I was saying in Italian. I needed to find a simpler form for English. To think in simple English was the hardest part, but after some time, it was normal for me to think in English. Then something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia who was on holiday in Italy. I was still a beginner, but when we started to speak English, I could see that I was able to speak with him without big problems. My sentences were simple and short, but I was able to speak. I didn't translate in my head from Italian to English. After the meeting with the man from Australia, I started to think aloud more. This technique helped me a lot with my speaking, and I still use it every day. It is really a very effective technique. Our teacher thanks Monica for her experience with thinking aloud. I want to use this technique because I also want to be better at speaking. When you want to speak English fluently, think aloud. How do I learn grammar after school? I go to the cafe where my job training starts. I don't know what to expect. I have no experience. I'm not sure if I can do this job. When I come to the cafe, I am very surprised that it is a modern cafe that sells coffee, tea, chocolate cakes, and sandwiches. My boss is only 25 years old. She started working at the cafe more than 2 years ago. She has a lot of experience and knows everything perfectly. She shows me how to prepare coffee, how to wash the dishes, and how to deal with customers. It is all new for me. I remember only about 20% of what she tells me, but then she lets me do the work, and she corrects me when I make a mistake. She is very friendly, and I learn fast. After the first day at work, I'm very tired, but I am happy that I have a job. The next day is Friday, and I go to school again. One student asks an interesting question. Sometimes, when I speak, I'm not sure if I speak correctly. I'm not sure if I use the correct grammar. Can you help me? Thank you for your question. There are two groups of students. Some students study English because they want to be able to speak, and some students study English because they want to pass an exam. For each group, the situation is different. First, I will speak about the students who need English for speaking. If this is you, you don't have to study grammar a lot. When you learn your native language, you also learn it without studying grammar. You can learn English grammar naturally by using the language. The best way to learn grammar is by reading a lot of books written in good grammar. When you read, you will learn grammar in the context of the whole sentence. I also recommend shadowing. When you do shadowing, you practice the correct grammar naturally. You don't have to try to remember anything. You only copy sentences with correct grammar. If you need English for speaking, but also want to study grammar, you can visit Grammar in Levels. This website shows what grammar is important for the different levels of English. You can find the most important grammar rules for speaking there. The second group of students are those who study English to pass an exam. If you are one of these students, I recommend studying specifically for this exam. Obtain the versions of this exam from the past years if it is possible, and train with them. Of course, your exam will be a little different, but the structure is usually the same or very similar. From my point of view, the versions of the exam from the past year are good training materials. I recommend going to the exam only when your results in the training materials are such that you can pass the exam successfully. This is good news. I don't like studying grammar. I learn English because I want to be able to speak. I don't need to pass any exams. I'm happy that I don't have to study grammar as much. I like reading, and I am happy that I can learn grammar by reading books. After the lesson, go to the website, Grammar in Levels. It is really a nice website. There are grammar rules with examples for each level, 10,000,000, 2,000, and 3,000 words in the afternoon before I go to work. It is my second day, and I can already do a lot of things by myself, but my boss helps me when I need it. I see that my work is not very difficult, and I can practice English when I speak to our customers. I read a lot. Chapter 2. How do I test my English? It is Monday again, and I go to school. Teacher asks us what we did at the weekend. I said that I was at work on Saturday. I say that I can already do my work well. I say that I am happy when I can speak to our customers. When I speak, one of the girls in the class asks me what happened to your voice. You sound very different from what we heard last week. Your pronunciation is very good. I smile and say thank you. I used shadowing on Saturday evening, after my work, and the whole Sunday. I tried to speak like a native speaker. I know that it is not perfect, but I also see a big change in my pronunciation. Teacher asks if other students have tried to practice shadowing. 3 students say yes. One of them is a student from South Korea. He also likes this technique. One student says that she tried the technique, but her mouth was in pain after 5 minutes of shadowing, and she stopped. She also says that she wasn't always able to repeat everything because the recording was very fast for her. Our teacher says, "Thank you for trying out this technique." If you do shadowing for the first time, and your mouth is in pain after 5 minutes, you are doing it correctly. You need to train your muscles for this new way of speaking. It is like going to the gym for the first time. Your muscles can hurt if they are not trained. If the muscles in your mouth hurt, you can take a break after 5 minutes of shadowing and continue a bit later. With every 5 minutes of practice, your pronunciation gets better. Shadowing also has other advantages. You practice the correct pronunciation in English, and you also practice other things, for example, intonation, rhythm, and connecting words in whole sentences. I know that at the beginning, the recording can sometimes be very fast for you. If this happens, you can repeat only the first or last word in the sentence. With practice, you'll be able to repeat more. I say that it is true. On Saturday, when I started with shadowing, it was difficult for me. But on Sunday evening, it was easy to repeat what I heard. Then I have a question for our teacher. I tell her that I looked at Grammar and Level.com, that the website is interesting, but I don't know what level it is for me because I don't know how many words I know. Our teacher asks other students if they know how many words they know in English. It is interesting to see that nobody knows. We know that we are intermediate students, but we don't know how many words we know. Our teacher says there is a website for people who study foreign languages. You can do a test there to see how many words you know. The test has only 2 steps, and it is really simple. You can do the test every month and see how much you improve during that month. If you want, you can now take your smartphone and go to that website and do the test. I'm really interested in knowing how many words I know. I do the test immediately, and I find out that I know 2,100 words. In English, most of the students know between 2,000 and 2,000 words. Only Monica and the boy from South Korea know 2,500 words, our teacher says. So you can see that when you go to grammaronlevel.com, you should already know grammar from level 3. You can start using grammar at level 3, because level 3 is for students who know between 2,000 and 3,000 words. Morale test your progress every How I Handle Mistakes month. Chapter 3, How I Handle Mistakes on Tuesday. I go to school again. One student asked our teacher an interesting question. She says I want to practice speaking with people around me, but I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. Can you help me? Our teacher says making mistakes is a very interesting topic. There are a lot of opinions on this topic. I want to show you what I believe is the best thing to do. I have a lot of experience with this because I also learn new languages. For example, now I'm learning Spanish. When I speak Spanish, I don't care if I make mistakes or not. The reason why I don't care about mistakes is simple. When I learned my native language, I didn't care about making mistakes. My main goal when I use any language to express my ideas is that it is all I know. That, when I read a lot, speak, and do shadowing, my Spanish will get better and better. I know that this can look very simple, but it is my opinion. This is what I learned after many years of teaching and learning languages. It works very well for me and many of my students. When I speak, I only concentrate on speaking. At the moment, I know 1,500 to 1,100 words in Spanish. It is the level of a 2-year-old child. 2-year-old children make a lot of mistakes when they speak, but they don't care about their mistakes. They continue using their native language. When they are 3 years old, they make very few mistakes, and when they are 4 years old, they usually speak very well. You can do the same now. Most of you know about 2,000 words, so it is absolutely okay to make mistakes from time to time. When you continue using English, there will be fewer and fewer mistakes in your speech. It is not possible to go to a higher level if you don't make mistakes when you practice English. It is okay not to be perfect. Perfection comes with practice. All people who started to learn English started from the beginning at the same level, level 0. Learning languages is like learning to play a musical instrument. It needs to be trained when you start your training. It is not perfect at the beginning, and you make mistakes. It is normal to take it as a necessary part of your learning process. If you don't go through this period of making mistakes, you can't get to higher levels. When you continue to use English, the mistakes can, step by step, go away if you want to make fewer and fewer mistakes. Do a lot of reading and shadowing when you read. You can read aloud. It can also help you make fewer mistakes in real conversations. Care only about exchanging ideas. Don't care about making mistakes when you speak. Practice changing your ideas into words. You don't learn grammar or words. You have other activities to do. Don't worry, everybody who learns a foreign language makes mistakes. Sometimes famous people, bosses of big companies, or politicians make mistakes too. When you listen to these people on TV, you see that they don't care about mistakes. They care about what is important, and it is saying their ideas you can do. Does it make sense that the girl says yes, thank Morale, if you don't want to make mistakes, do a lot of reading. And how I remember word shadowing. I go to school again. At the beginning of the lesson, one student says I started to read more. I feel that it is good for me. I can see how my grammar is better, but I have a problem when I read, and I don't know a word. I look at the word in the dictionary, then I continue reading. Sometimes when I see the same word again 10 minutes later, I don't remember the word and I have to look at it again. Can you help me remember the words? Our teacher says that it is an interesting question, and she gives this explanation. It is normal that you don't remember the new word immediately. Usually, you will have to look at the word 5 times before you remember it. There will also be words that you will have to see 10 or 15 times. These words are usually verbs. When we learn a new word, the word goes through phases. Only when you achieve the last phase do you remember the word very well. There are 5 of these phases. The first phase is the moment when you see the word for the first time and don't know the word. You look at the word in the dictionary. The second phase is the moment when you see the word for the second time. You know that you saw this word before, but you still don't remember its meaning. You look at the word in the dictionary again. The third facet is the moment when you see the word again and feel what it could mean, but you are not sure. For example, you know that the word is some kind of object, some animal, or a verb. The fourth phase is the moment when you already know what the word means when you see it, but you are not able to remember the word when you want to say it. When this phase happens, the word is in your passive vocabulary. The fifth phase is the moment when you are able to use the word when you speak. As you can see, there are 5 phases altogether. Do you understand now why it is not possible to remember a new word when you see it for the first time? It is usually not possible to jump across all the phases with the first meeting with the word. You have to see or hear every word many times and let the word go through all the phases. You can be happy not only when you learn a new word perfectly, but also when you get from one phase to the next. When it happens, you are closer to the final goal, which is to use the word without problems in everyday communication. I didn't know about these phases, but it is all logical. I also have this experience when I look at a new word in the dictionary, but 2 minutes later, I don't know what the word means, and I have to look at the word again. I feel stupid when I don't remember the word. Now know that it is okay not to remember the word forever. When I see it for the first time, I need to have more meetings with the word before I can use it well. After school, I go to football training. Our coach tells us that there is a match on Saturday. The school team will play against another school team from Cambridge. Our coach tells me to come and play for the school team. I am very happy, and I am looking forward to the Saturday match. Morale: when you want to remember a new word, you need to see or hear it about 10 times.